The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subarai Productions. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tokucast Reviews.
Yes.
Episode number 155.
Yes.
Marcus and Jacob here to discuss Denji Sentai Denziman.
Yes.
Going back to the Showa for Sentai.
This is technically the last in the 70s. Because this was the 80s. Mm-hmm. This is 1980, February 2nd. I believe this is the second to last involvement with Marvel. Because that ended with Sun Vulcan.
Yes.
But yeah, let's start where we always do. The opening.
The opening.
Peak.
Goodness me, I don't think
Peak.
A Toku song has ever wormed its way into my brain every waking moment that I've been alive. Like the theme song and score for Denziman. Goodness me.
The ending is also really
I close
good.
my eyes and I hear Isode Denziman.
It's such a peak song.
Denji Spakuda. It's a very good song.
It's very good.
And my brain is refusing to let it go. More than anything I think I've ever heard for Toku music.
Especially this early in its series, because this is number 4. Why are both the opening and the ending that good? How dare they?
It's like, I didn't listen to the ending, but even now, like, you say the ending and I can hear and it's like, I can hear it too, it won't leave.
It's so good. It's so illegally good. It was really stuck in my head. I'm just like, oh, okay.
I wonder if that's one of the reasons my mood has been so off this week, because I keep hearing that score every time. I'm sitting at work trying to get stuff done, and all I can hear is...
And there's an electronic version of it that they play sometimes throughout the rest of the show where it's like, Denziman. And I'm just like, yes! Yes!
Goodness.
Yes! It also has some pretty good insert music, which is something I don't really talk about that much. But I've really enjoyed... Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest in my feelings here.
Well, I'd be disappointed if you weren't.
This is up there for me. I don't know what it was about this show. I think it just right place, right time. But man, something about this show, I was just like...
I think I can give an explanation, and that's that at its best, when the show is firing on all cylinders, it is positively delightful.
Really
in every aspect. It is just joyously delightful.
Yeah. It's like there's just a little bit of stupid. And I think that's the thing that sort of sets it apart, where it really refuses to take itself ever too seriously. And I think in some cases that's something that really helps it. And even when it does, there's one episode, the one where the kid is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think that episode was pretty well done. Weirdly enough, though, I think some things could be, some episodes need extensions more than anything else, just to fill in some gaps on how the stories are told. I feel like it needs that.
What do you mean?
More. Like, some things happen too fast, and I feel like this episode needs to be, it needs at least like another 16 minutes to really build up that emotional impact. Or,
okay. Can you think of an example off the top of your head? Or?
The one with the kid is the Marble Lar.
Ah.
I felt like the ending of that was just a little bit too quick. Because you can feel like, all right, they're really trying to play into the emotions in this show. And in this episode. And I was like, it's really working. But they end up working where it's just like the kid dies. Or rather, the monster does. Because he came to Earth too early. So he grew up as just like a normal kid until he turned out to be a bad monster. I feel like that one could have just been longer, more than anything else. Yeah.
Maybe a 2-parter.
Yeah. Yeah, this show definitely could use some 2-parters. Not many, because I honestly think like the contained episodic format that I had going for it really worked.
I think it works for the most part because this show is very simple.
Yeah.
And it's also very, even though it's a Sentai, the cast is pretty small.
Yeah, it's just the 5 of them.
It's you have our heroes. You've got IC. You've got the kids at the rec center.
Yeah,
where they all coach, and you've got 4 later 5 bad guys.
Along with the 2 police. Well, really, it's just 1.5 police women because the other one does. I don't even think she has a name.
If she does, I don't remember it. But yeah, Chieko and the other one.
The other one.
Chieko shows up every now and then, mostly in like the mid from like. It's like
shows up pretty early.
It's like from the late teens, I think.
Actually, she shows up episode 4 or 5, and then she'll like show up sporadically afterwards. She shows up pretty early in the show proper. But
I don't remember her showing up that early, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's Green's first Focus episode that she showed up.
Because we are introduced through her connection to Green with...
she's a policewoman.
Because she is a policewoman as he was a detective.
Yeah.
So how do we want to structure this whole thing? Do we want a good dad...
Episode 12. Tomoko was the other one's name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you want to structure this review? Do you just want to keep going? Do you want to...
Yeah, because I don't really have a lot of bad to say about the show, like in any capacity. Oh, actually, there is...
Because I do.
There's one thing more than anything else in this show. Who was Yellow?
Yellow, his first Focus episode comes in, I want to say it's in the 20s. In the 20s or 30s, something like that. And it's the episode where he's dating the girl.
Or like the girl likes him or something.
Yeah, he's like dating a girl and they go on a date. It does lead to one of the funniest moments in the show, though.
Which one?
Where he gets punched in the movie theater.
This show has some really like memeable moments.
That is definitely one of them. But
and
as to who was like, because Yellow was a scientist, and I don't think they
really did a lot with that.
They did not utilize that enough, and because if you watch, because in the opening theme song, you see him, he's like in a laboratory in a lab coat, he's tinkering with some stuff, something explodes, and he does kind of like a Lucio Ball, like take to camera kind of thing, and so it's like, okay, so he's a scientist, he's the funny one, is what I think they were going for. But they don't let him develop enough.
And they also, like, even though they try to make him the funny one, they also forget that Kenji Oba's right there. So
Kenji Oba may as well be the main character.
This was Gavin.
Do you want to break this down? Do you want to do like a character breakdown for this review? Okay, good. Let's do it.
Let's just go by color.
So, okay, so we're going to start with Denzi Red.
Yeah. Akagi.
Before we do, I want to say, is Blue the only one where the color isn't in his name? Or is this one of those Japanese things where, like, you write it a certain way and it actually means blue?
It might be writing it a certain way, because it isn't legitimately everybody else's name.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second, but keep going.
Okay, but Akagi, the Red Ranger, Denzi Reddo, Ipe Akagi, he's fine, I think.
Yeah,
there's
nothing bad about him.
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with him either. But as far as Red Rangers go, I think he's more on the bland side of the spectrum.
A little bit. He does have some... honestly, he has probably some of my favorite moments in this show.
I think he's got some great... He's very much like a charge into battle, take charge kind of hero.
Yeah.
Which I suppose is why they made him the leader.
His family name contains the kanji for blue.
It's one of those things. Yeah. Okay, so... back to Red. Yeah, he's got some really good hero moments. He's got a very strong take charge personality.
Which
very big, very energetic guy on screen. Lots of energy there.
He comes across pretty well in all honesty. I really don't have like any bad things to say about him. He has like some moments, and this is one of those things where I think it's the weirder part of Denziman, which makes you just love it.
Yeah.
Where like he's like somewhere else, and then the monster goes into a house to like, because apparently it was using his little girl as a disguise, and he pulls back the blanket on the bed, and Denzi Red's just there, and he's like, ha ha ha. It's so, because for some reason they give Red the moments where like Kamen Rider in the original 71, where he's just in a place. I think that's one of my favorite things.
You thought it was a girl, but it was me, Denzi Red.
I'm just like, what? And every single time, because you never expect it. They don't set it up like that. He just is there, and it's continuously funny.
For me, Denzi Red, I think he's got some really good moments.
He does.
But overall, I felt the character was more like he was like exceptionally okay.
Yeah.
Nothing about him is particularly bad, but nothing about him really stands out as being really good either.
Even his focus episodes are actually pretty good. The ones that I watched today because I finished the show.
Yeah.
The one with the mermaid and the one with the not Denzi princess.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah. They're both pretty much his focus episodes, and I'm just like, he's actually quite good in those. Like you said, he's really exceptionally okay, but he has his moments where he's just like, oh, okay, I can see why you're the leader of this team.
Moving on.
To the man.
To
the myth,
Denji Blue.
the legend, the Kenji Oba.
Daigoro Ome, played by Kenji Oba.
Anpan Man.
Oh my goodness, this might be one of the best performances in Toku history.
He's better in this than he was in Battle Fever. Which makes sense. This is his second go.
I think this is his best performance I've ever seen him give.
Even out of Gavin? Gavin was sort of middling.
I would.
But him as Denzi Blue was just like, he ticked boxes. The man was just good. He was comedic.
He's so good.
He was all the acrobatics.
The amount of energy and presence that this performance gives off.
This is why they gave him Gavin.
Every time he is on the screen, your attention is drawn to him.
Yeah.
Your attention is always like, oh, there he is. And he's always, he's eating something, he's doing something, he's being loud, he's being adventurous, he's being a mentor, he's being funny. He's always doing something.
Yeah.
Even in a scene where characters are just sitting around talking, he will be sitting there with an onpot in his hand, just like snacking away and just like having himself a good time, and you are instantly drawn to him. It's like if they were all at a bar, he would be the one who is like buying everyone drinks and like everyone is gathered around him.
It's weird because you can tell it's like, especially because, as I said, this is number 4. They hadn't set on archetypes really yet. Because he pretty much has yellows from Go Rangers, like the whole food thing.
Yeah.
But
he's always snacking on something.
It's just the flipping around, like hanging off of things, the sheer amount of just him being in action. He's so amazing.
I'm so glad you brought that up. There's a moment I have to bring up because there was a moment, I forget which episode it is, but there is a fight scene where I forget which ranger it is like having a fight in the foreground, and in the background on a zip line coming from who knows where comes Denji Blue just kicking and flailing around and like kicking monsters in the background. And it's such a good moment. It brings me to something that I really want to praise about this show, and that's the way that it's shot.
It really is.
I feel like it's both a blessing and a curse because on the one hand, I feel like the show is intensely over-edited at times.
It is, yeah.
Like so many cuts and so many jumping from thing to thing. Characters, when they do an action, we have to like replay that action 3 or 4 times.
It was,
and it gets a bit much.
Yeah.
But on the other hand.
Yeah.
Like from the first episode alone, I'm like, they are constantly moving the camera and giving you something to look at.
Yeah.
There is, whether it's in the foreground or the background, or there's this great shot in the first episode where Daidenzin is fighting the kaiju for that episode, and there's like a tracking shot from the background as the two of them are like squaring off, and it was like, that's something you don't see a lot in this day and age.
Yeah.
And it was just like a really cool like scope moment that gave you a good sense of scale. And seeing that in 1980 was on a Japanese television show was pretty cool. So that was really cool. And just like, again, it's energy. Like they're constantly like, you are darting all over the screen looking at something different almost every time they cut to something new.
Yeah. And honestly, just going back to Denji Blue for a quick second, just a couple of things that really stood out to me besides him just being overall the purpose of the show. He has the comedic timing that Kenji Oba has is odd because how dare he? You saw that in all honesty a lot in Battle Fever, but even coming to this, you're just like, he jumps down from a tree when some monster is like threatening a kid. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's just like, he's great. This is Kenji Oba in all honesty, even outside of Gavin. This is Kenji-Oba at his best.
I think so.
This is fantastic Kenji-Oba.
Mm-hmm.
Gavin's good Kenji-Oba. Battle Fever J is good Kenji-Oba. This is fantastic Kenji-Oba. We talked about Yellow.
I don't think we really need to say anything. I mean, it's not a bad performance.
No, he's just
the actor's fine, but I don't think he was written or utilized well.
No, he wasn't. Denji Green.
Denji Green.
Another really good character, in all honesty. Also, his actor, we hear him a lot. He's a voice actor for a lot of things now. He showed up a couple years ago in 01, near the end of the show. Mm-hmm. That wasn't him. That was Mason. Mason from Bioman, who also shows up as like the vampire character for that one episode in this show. Mm-hmm. Mason from Bioman was also in 01. But we hear Naya Uchida, who played Denji Green a lot just over the years. We hear him in a lot of various different roles. He's still voice acting today. Mm-hmm. The man's just busy.
Yep.
Man's very busy.
He was in Les Miserables, as in the original Japanese stage production, which is crazy.
But his character...
He was under Ross.
In the show. I pretty much love any time he had a focus episode.
His focus episodes were really good. He carries a different, presence than the other ones because he was a detective. I love the opening episode with him and his dad.
Yeah, and
his dad getting killed. Just like you knew, like they telegraph it coming from a mile away because it's like, I am proud of you, son. You are great at your job.
Definitely.
And it's like, thank you, Dad. I will do right by you. And it's like, well, he did.
He died immediately.
And he died immediately, but still great relationship. And I love the it's a great character. It's a great performance.
He has a episode, the one with the time,
because I'm rambling.
The one with the time monster, where it's like they sent him into the past 4 years ago, and then they brought that version of him forward.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's really... This is one of those episodes that I wish they would have gone on longer, especially because halfway through...
That's a story arc right there.
Halfway through the episode, he gets sent to the future.
If this were a manga, that's what, 10 chapters at least?
At least. Whole arc.
That's an arc, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, he gets in, that version of him gets brought forward, and then he doesn't know he's a Denziman, and they have to give him memories, basically, from his future self. And then he gets sent into the future, where Vader won. I'm just like, that is such an interesting premise, and I wish that would have gone on for an episode or two. Because it's like, I want more from that. That's an extended episode in and of itself. But I love just him, because he's the one who goes undercover the most. Mm-hmm. And anytime he does that, it's just like, we're using his police detective skills and all of that, and it's fantastic to watch him. And he's just a good actor.
Yes. One thing I have to mention, because we're on Denji Green, in the opening theme song, we see him shoot a gun. And speaking of the way that people shoot guns in the show, there is no thing that you can shoot at that you can't shoot at 50 times with a gun that holds 6 bullets while firing at it from every single possible angle and position.
Reload? We don't know that.
It's not so much just we don't reload, it's I am going to jump into the air, fire my gun while doing a flip, while rolling on the ground, while unloading everything that I have at this whatever I'm shooting at.
You got some equilibrium bullshit up here.
That was more grounded than that. The gun kata made more sense than this.
Gun kata!
That's what it is.
I love it.
But I also backpacking off of that, I have to talk about the episode where the movie monster.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ending duels where the monster has the power to, change genre in reality, as it were, and he turns everything into a Western, and everyone gets cowboy outfits. And they all start shooting everyone with guns, and it's great. And then he turns it into a samurai movie, and then I think he turns it into it might be a detective movie, it's something, but it's just a fantastic set piece, and I loved it.
It's really good.
Yes.
Denji Green, I think Denji Green, Denji Blue, and Pink were probably my favorites in this show on the whole. Red's no slouch on his own, and Yellow exists. I think Yellow in total got 2.5 focus episodes.
Something like that.
And really, even though he was the focus of that episode, it wasn't him who got the focus. It was the girl in the one that he was like dating. And then it was the dog and the little girl in the other episode.
I still have to talk about that moment where he got punched. It was so just as someone who heralds the movie-going experience as a truly sacred ritual, where he's there on a date with her, and she's like trying to hold his hand and like cuddle up to him, and he's just having none of it.
He's very dense,
and he is very dense. And then he takes out like rice crackers that he brought in with him, and he starts crunching on them very loudly. And the guy sitting in front of him is like, "Hey, shut up!" And he stands up, doesn't even hesitate. In a split second, stands up and just decks him right in the face. Just punches him square in the face. And as someone who has been in movie theaters where some people have been disruptive, looking at you, the people I saw Get Out with the first time, they pulled their phones out and started filming during the first sunken place scene. I wanted to, like, somebody got the manager and I think they got kicked out, but, like, I wanted to drop kick all of them in the next week. I'm like, you bastards. And yeah, so that moment was hilarious.
All right, let's move on to Denzi Pink.
Denzi Pinko, Akira Momoi.
She has my favorite trope episode.
Are you talking about the costume change episode?
Yes.
And the single greatest costume change montage sequence ever put to film. My goodness, it's incredible. The comedic timing on this thing is
so good.
And the amount of change, because the episode opens and we don't even get like a cold open to what's going on.
We just get the costume.
We just get her changing into a bunch of different costumes against various backgrounds. It's like she jumps in and I think she's wearing like street clothes, and then she jumps in and she's wearing like a belly dancer outfit, and she jumps in and she's wearing a sailor outfit, and she's holding a gun, and she jumps in and she's wearing like a Chinese dress or something else. And the amount of changes and the way that they happen, where
throughout the rest of this episode,
because the plot of this episode is there's a monster who is kidnapping beauty pageant winners, and like stockpiling them somewhere for reasons, and
because Queen Hadrian is petty.
Yeah, she is.
We'll talk about her in a little bit.
And yeah, so that happens, and so she has like her goon squad that's out helping her out, and they're played by it's like human actors. It's not like the traditional minions we've been seeing up to this point.
Laws.
Yeah, they're these guys in like khakis and like button-down shirts, like running around trying to stop her. But like she's out there, and the way she changes her outfit changes how she fights. It changes the way she's presenting herself in the scene, where she changes into the sailor outfit with the gun and she's just like unloading on him. She changes into a nun and she's walking very slowly.
That part with the nun might be one of the funniest parts of this entire
What are the three she changes into? It's like a nun. What are the other two?
It's like a girl. It's not a sailor outfit, but she's like...
It's like a Navy uniform.
Yeah, a Navy uniform, sort of, but she's out there like with a pipe.
Yeah.
And then she's like a beauty with a wig. It's like a quick change. It's just like, which way did she go? And the nun's
it's like, oh, she went that way. And then they run up, and then they're like, wait a second. And they turn around, and she's in a different outfit. And they're like, hey, did you see a nun go here? Go by this way? It's like, oh yeah, she went that way. No, that way. That way. And they're like, okay, thank you. And then they run off, and they're like, wait a second. And then they turn around again, and she's in a different outfit. And it just keeps escalating and escalating. Like, you are great.
There's no reason why this happens. It's just amazing. It is legitimately... there are two episodes I really talk about. This is one of them. But this was such a peak episode. It's, I talk about the episode from Changeman where it's like all like the monster village, and Change Phoenix is going around in different outfits, which is my favorite episode of that show. I don't know what it is about women changing outfits and just being the best. It's 10 out of 10.
It's the quick change. For me, it's the quick change. It's the surrealness in which it plays into it.
It's such a good episode.
Because it's very surreal. The way like they run away, they turn around, and she's somebody completely different.
It's such a comedic episode.
And it's just a great way to like toy with the minds of those involved.
And also really show off a lot of the things that she can do, because she is playing 90 or every single role in this episode.
Yeah.
At one point, it's three of her at once, and the guys are like, "What is happening?"
Because it's like the nun and the other two are just like walking up side by side, and they're like, "What the frick is going on?" But it's great.
such a good... Her as a character, she's the kind one. But I honestly think they gave her things to really show off her strengths, like that episode. And man, the actress is only 20 at the time.
Oh, was she?
She was fantastic.
She's very good.
I really enjoy, like, the cast bar yellow. Yeah. They were just good. And
I think Yellow's fine. It's more of a script problem than I have with the actor.
He doesn't really end up doing much, and I think that's why I'm just like, about him.
Mm-hmm.
But the cast really sold this show for me. It's like they really gave it for this show.
And it helped, and it's because it is such a small cast, considering, like, every episode, sure, will be introduced to, like, a different monster and a different foil they'll present. There isn't usually a victim to go with it. Like, sometimes there is, but we're still not shifting focus entirely away from Denziman, because they're always there. They're very active in the community because they all work at a rec center or recreational club. And they all teach a different discipline. They, like, all the neighborhood children know them. And
they might not know them as Denziman, but they know them as a character.
But they know them, like, who they are, because they're always, going to the rec center to learn stuff and whatnot.
I just love sometimes where the Denzimen just aren't there and then they are. It's like, okay. It's like, we know that they do say they go on patrol a lot. It's just really funny how a monster just be doing something and Denziman. It's so good. This show. God. Coming off of, what was the last show that we did?
I think it was Skyrider.
Yeah, coming off of that to this.
I think it was?
Yeah, it was Skyrider, because that was one right before Shen. Coming off from that to this is just like, wow. This is basically the same year. They really, threw the whole kitchen sink at Denziman. They really made an enjoyable show, and we haven't even talked about the villains yet. Oh, God. God, why is this show so good? I was, especially in our Discord, I was like, wow, this show, though. There's one episode later on where, like, the monster was like a rock monster. And
I appreciate that.
He's like, boulder throw. And then Denziman was like, reverse boulder throw. And the monster was like, how can you reverse rocks?
I remember that moment. It was one of the best moments. Thank you for bringing that up. Oh my goodness. It was the rock monster that it threw a large boulder at Denziman.
It was so
the throw, and then Denziman reversal, and he was like, "What? How?
Boulder shower reversal.
That's it. Yeah, boulder shower reversal.
How can you reverse rocks?
The roster. How can you reverse rocks? And then it dies. It dies because of he plays the reverse Uno card and is like, "Fuck you."
There's some things in this show is just like they really just. We don't care.
That is truly one of the most we don't care moments in the show.
It's so funny because they even had the monster be like, what is happening?
I mean, the costume change, the movie theater punch,
episode 12. I messaged you about this. This was the episode where they went to a hotel or like a resort or something because Vader was out there doing something bad. And they all had to go undercover. I love resort episodes like this. I really do. I love when like the entire team just like, we have to go and find out information. So we're all going to go undercover.
We're all going undercover.
And plus, I don't know what it is, especially when you have such a drastic change of location like this. Because they found on the beach at the end of this episode. It's just something really interesting and something, I don't know what it is about a beach episode where they have to, be in disguise. It's just
a beach episode that's not your traditional anime beach episode. Because when you say beach episode to the kind of people that might watch our show, a certain neuron clicks and you're like, okay, I know where this is going.
No, it's just like, this is just a resort episode.
Not so much with this.
But it's a spy episode, really, at its core. It felt very spy. It felt of the time. Like of the spy shows that were going on. It felt like that. So something about the episode did everything correctly. It did everything correctly for me. Let's talk about the villains.
Before we do that, I do want to touch on something you brought up. The fight on the beach. It's the use of different locations.
Yeah.
This show is really good at varying up their locations and where our throwdowns and episodes take place.
This is before a lot of the regulations started to happen.
Fair enough. But I mean, like the movie theater episode where they go into this building and it's just... They have to navigate this labyrinthine maze to try and find out where the heck the theater room is. And I like that kind of like never ending maze. That was a cool thing. Just the different like restaurants that we go to and forests and, you know, abandoned warehouses and all the other traditionals spots that we're used to seeing. There's a really good scene on a dam.
We see that Bioman has
because I remember you mentioning Bioman had a fight on a dam as well,
and it's fantastic. James Ran, like during the 80s, they were just like, let's just film places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go here. We don't care about regulations. Fuck regulations.
Wait, we need a permit to shoot here? Oh goodness, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, we already finished.
I didn't know.
Denzi away.
Denzi away.
Yes. The 80s is such a good time for a lot of Sentai, not the sequel. No, we won't talk about some. Well, we have to. But we had to talk about it in some capacity, unfortunately.
I mean, we kind of already did.
Yeah, but we got to mention it because Machiko Soga. This is where she started as the character.
But moving on to the villains.
Yes.
Oh, wait, there's another character we have to talk about. I see.
A good dog.
We have to talk about the good boy, the floof. He's a chow chow. He's very floofy.
It was like, the monster damaged Daidenzen, so we don't have any more circuits.
Okay, one strike I will give this show. I hated the finale.
Yeah, the finale
I thought the finale was terrible. If there's one like major strike I will give it, it's the finale.
I think the biggest issue with at least parts of the finale, especially when you deal with the mercenary guy,
Demon King Banriki.
Banriki, yeah. The area where they defeat him in did not feel grand enough for something where it's like, we need to beat this guy.
I think we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I have more to say. But
he was
but I see I like that we have another talking dog companion. Talking cybernetic dog companion. Wish his ending was better, but the way he's used, he's nice. It is. I did sadly learn that one of the dog actors did pass away during production.
Oh no!
Yeah, there's two. The first one, it was natural causes. Thank goodness, the dog was not mistreated on set. But by all accounts, like they had another dog that was like ready to go because. I mean, you look at the dog in the first, like, however many episodes that they had him for, and it's like, yeah, he looks old.
Yeah.
He looks like an older floofy boy, but he's a good boy, and that's what matters. I see we salute you, as did Denziman. But now we can move on to the villains.
The Vader clan.
The Vader clan. Because the story of the show is we have, Denzi Land.
Yeah.
Where...
The proper Denzi Land.
The proper Denzi Planet, where that's where our heroes get their powers from. They were attacked by the Vader clan, and they fled here. They were all wiped out, but their descendants?
Yeah.
Yes, the descendants are who are wielding their powers today to fight back against the Vader clan for the forces of good. And we have their leader, Queen Hedorian.
Yes.
Hedrian, however you want to say it. Very much a classic Disney villain in terms of design, in terms of
she really
matters. I mean, one of the first things we hear her say is "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all." I mean, you just look at that outfit. It's very, Maleficent. It's very Wicked Queen from Snow White, but filtered through the lens of an 80s Toku. And I love the actress who plays her.
Machiko Soga.
Yeah.
If I had castanets, it'd be so loud right now. She's so petty. And we talked ad nauseum about Machiko Soga before.
Yeah.
She's just amazing. She's the whole reason to watch Sunwalker. But her in this show, she comes across as, you're better. You have a thing that is slightly better than me. How dare you? Kill her. She's so petty in this show. I remember at one point they took her measurements and it was just the same. And she was not happy. She was like, 94, 94, 94. She was like, oh! She's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love her.
But great look, great performance. Great.
This is her start. At least as like a big villain.
Yeah.
So it's just like, she really came in. She swung at these hoes. And she's just amazing.
Yeah, she did.
I loved her. And you end up feeling a little bit bad for her at the end of this show.
I didn't.
Just a little bit. With like the last line that she says, and then what happens when she comes back as Sun Vulcan, because she's the only villain who's like spanned across 2 shows. I'm all alone now. Everybody is dead. I'm going to go away for a while,
but I'll be back.
And then
with
she
vengeance
somehow gets encased in ice, and she gets a mechanical heart put in.
She left the fridge open,
and then she has a round head. But she's a much better character in my well, I'm not going to say a much better character, but a much different character in Sun Vulcan. But she's the reason to watch that show. So glad she comes in at episode 5 because Sun Vulcan is not good.
Talking.
That's the best part of that show. Besides Machiko.
Besides her talking.
General Hedrida.
One of the few male villains.
Yeah.
The only other one is we'll talk about later, who comes in very late in the show.
And then does nothing.
But how do you feel about him, General Hidoro?
Honestly, I sort of liked him. I liked at certain points that you could see the exasperation on his face dealing with Queen Hedrida. Just like, oh.
He is very much he's an honorable bad guy.
Yeah, he's long suffering, and it's funny.
Long suffering because he's got it's like he's like the disgruntled dad who's watching over his 3 daughters.
Yeah,
and because like you said, Queen Hidorian is extremely petty. Can be extremely.
That girl has better teeth than me. How dare!
Off with her head. And he is very much just very stoic, very it's that kind of speech pattern. The instant he shows up, and he very much comes across as like he's very stoic, but like you can kind of see it just kind of cracking under the surface sometimes.
Especially when he's like not the focus of the shot, and you can see him all to the side, just like he gets so tired.
There is a bottle of gin in my quarters with my name on it, and I can just hear it screaming to me.
You can see it on his face. You're looking
I want to go lie down.
You're looking at him like, yeah, I've been there.
But at the same time, he is a very honorable villain. When I forget what the name of the monster is, but like towards the end of the show, where there's like a monster, he's got Denji right on the ropes, and then the monster like kind of swoops in and like holds him back.
Oh, Kendamala.
Yeah, to like he's like, hey, I got him. Go deliver the killing blow, and he's like,
this was my fight.
He's like, what the hell are you doing? I had him. I don't need you. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
This is dishonorable. How dare you? And that's him. So, again, I really like that it's such a small cast of villains.
Yeah. Even with Mira and Keller.
Keller and Mira. And I really like how they use. I love how they're always off in the real world. Yeah. Disguising themselves and infiltrating the masses.
This is something that they'll do a lot through a lot of the 80s era, especially when they're having like sort of female underlings, or at least like lower on the totem pole. Yeah. They're the ones who are usually out there doing the thing, like Farah and Farah Cat and Bioman. It's one of those things where I'm just like, oh, I actually really appreciated their role in the show and how much they cared about Queen Hedrian. It really comes through when they basically end up sacrificing themselves for her. To protect her.
Because they are shapeshifters. One can turn into a shield, the other into a mirror. Yeah. And they give their lives for their queen. And to their credit, they definitely... Queen Hedorian, mourns for their loss.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was just like, oh, I feel a little bit bad for her. Because it seems like, unlike some other villains where it's just like, you're expendable. She was like, no, these are the people I actually,
She's like, they were my underlings, and yeah, they were following my orders because I am their queen, but she really cared for them. When Killa, turns into the shield and blocks those knives, and then, she unmorphs and is stabbed to death, and she immediately is, calling for revenge. Yeah. No, how dare you, you will pay for this. That... she may have been my underling, but I still very much cared for her as a person.
And when Mira ends up getting cut down later on, she crawls over to her. She's like,
because Mira does a little triple cross. Yeah, because she immediately calls for vengeance. She's like, nope, I like this guy instead. I like strong boys. And Bunriki's like, aha, fool. and they imprison her, but she was only doing that because it's like, okay, now I can spy on him and I can find out what his weakness is.
And give it to the Denziman to figure out how to beat the monster.
And then she ends up dying, and she dies like in the prison cell in her arms as the queen is like cradling her in her final moments. And it's like, wow, that's surprisingly well done.
Magical Soda really sold that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She really sold that.
And then we get to Demon King Banriki.
He shows up in
episode 37
and incapacitates pretty much all the Denziman. But
he does nothing. He does nothing in this show except drink fog juice.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything.
I say fog juice because like after he like stages his coup, he's always like sitting on Queen Hidorian's throne. And he's got like a glass that he's always swirling around, and they put like, I guess it's like dry ice or something they put it because it's always smoking.
Yeah.
And it's like, fog juice. That's all he ever seems to do. He doesn't really do anything except like observe and see their plans fail over and over again.
You suck.
That's pretty much what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of looks like Shao Kahn.
He does.
But
he really does. I didn't even make that connection. He doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything, and then he stages the coup after feeling that Queen Hidorian is incompetent, and then he's like, I'm going to take over it instead, and he does.
Briefly.
And then the show ends because...
No, he does, and then he gets, like, put into wax and turned into a candle, but he, like, made a monster.
They put a candle on his head is what they do.
But he, like, secretly made a monster that comes out, and basically beats everybody and frees him.
Beats the Denziman, is like a seemingly unstoppable monster with telekinetic powers. And then the Denziman take both him and the monster out in a way I feel like they could have done at any time.
The tail thing, I love the fact that Queen Hadrian is just like, no, this is not going to how it's going to work. We're going to beat this monster. And we're going to tell the Denziman how to do it. Mm-hmm. And they're going to pay for it. So
because Mira becomes her crystal ball once more.
Because she has slight sorceress powers.
Yeah, so she is able to use her... she turns into the crystal ball, and then Hidorian uses her magic, conveys it through that to talk to the Denziman, who are in Daidenzin. And...
go for the tail!
Go for the tail! It's the equivalent of, playing Elden Ring, and you're shouting advice while the other person goes to fight the boss. And so that happens, and they beat him, but they do it in a way that just makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
And it's... because... its telekinetic powers are like, making Daidenzin go crazy, and it's like flipping around. And
this is what causes IC to get, taken out later on.
Yeah, because IC uses his circuitry to repair it, and that's already happened. Yeah, that's how they're able to launch it in the first place, because it's already been damaged.
It feels a little underwhelming.
And it's completely preventing them from attacking, and they're like, oh, go for the tail. Stab ground, shockwave hits monster is dead. Just like that. It happens so fast, and I'm like, you could have done that at any time. What was taking you so long?
I feel like they should have planned that one just a little bit better, but something tells me they were trying to get to Sun Vulcan at this point.
Feels that way. And then Banriki dies almost immediately after, and just kind of gets smoked in the same way.
Because Mira blinds him.
That's right, because, she blinds him, and...
then he cuts her down.
And then he just kind of like
stumbles out.
It's so silly. Like he stumbles out of the base and like into the sunlight, and he's just like, I can't see. And
the Denziman are like, Spock!
And then they just kill him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They just kill him. He's dead.
It feels a little bit underwhelming. Then they go to the Vader ship, and Queen Hadrian like puts a hologram. And just like, I'll be back. Because I'm really lonely right now. I was like, you know what, sis, I feel you. And then she goes and
she's just like, I'm gonna take a minute for me. I'm gonna book a weekend in
a frozen landscape. And then that's what happens in Sun Vulcan. Honestly, though,
get a cabin by a lake, just read some books.
This show's still really good. Like for what it is, for the time period that it came out in. I just I appreciate everything that it did, especially the things that we end up seeing later on with the the Denzi rings, and this is where they really start using transformation just devices instead of a capsule that you have to stand in and
Is this the last time we see cloth for the suits?
No,
because Goggle 5 is next.
Yeah, well, Sun Vulcan and then Goggle 5.
Well, in terms of like what we have to review, but yeah.
But even still, it's just like something about this show hit all the right beats for me.
To repeat what I said to reiterate, I should say, what I said at the beginning of the show, when the show is at its best, it is just positively delightful.
Yeah. And it's honestly
it hits the sweet spot of being campy, being fun, being silly, being dramatic. It's anchored by some really strong characters, good action, good cinematography for the time. Might be a little much for some people. I could definitely see this being sensory overload for some people with the way that it's edited.
Especially near the beginning where it's just like, oh.
I mean, they don't slow it down much.
No.
Not as the show goes on.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah.
The show's great.
Denziman, hats off to you.
I really like this show. I did not expect to like this show as much coming off of Skyrider. And I'm sitting here like, I'm really happy that this is next. Because Skyrider was a trial and a tribulation. This was a joy. What next?
Next is Ultraman Destined Crossroads.
Yes, the last of the trilogy is happening.
And after that, we are doing Mega Monster Battle.
Yes.
The show.
A lot of Ultraman coming up. Sort of hype for it.
And after that is Jiraiya.
Oh, so excited for Jiraiya. But yeah.
So look forward to that.
Let us know what you thought about Denziman in the comments below. Let us know what you thought about the Destined Crossroad. We'll talk about those in our next video. Don't forget to join us for all the things, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.